Hello and welcome to the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. Every week we bring to you a program about innovation, technology, education, humanitarian service. We're very happy to have our guest here today, which is Karissa, and we'll have her introduced shortly. But before we introduce Karissa, I'd like to introduce Andrew Ta, who is our club secretary and also in education himself. Andrew, if you could go ahead and give a brief self-introduction as well as introduce Karissa. We'd appreciate that.
All right. Hello, I am your club secretary as well as your service chair. And I do work in education. I work in TRIO. And in that respect, Karissa is, that's kind of how I met Karissa, actually. And Karissa grew up in the Bay Area. She attended Los Gatos High School, which I think many of our members know. And then she attended Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo to obtain a Bachelor of Science in Human Development and received a Master's in Career Counseling and Student Services from CSU Chico. She began serving underrepresented students and has done it for 9 years, first at CSU Chico, then at UC Davis, and she now serves the entire county of Tehama. I've just recently learned how to pronounce that, through the Department of Education. She lives in beautiful Red Bluff in far North California, where there's no such thing as traffic, and they get to visit an active volcano on a regular basis. She is currently serving as the NorCal WESTOP chapter president, which she'll tell you more about. And without further ado, go ahead and take it away, Karissa.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you, Mitty. I am very excited to be here today and to share with your members, with the Rotary Club of Silicon Valley, a little bit more about the NorCal chapter of WESTOP. I've prepared a little bit of a slideshow for you guys to give you some idea of who we are and what we do in serving students. And so I'm going to start off with that, and in the end there'll be time for question and answer, and just really want to thank you guys for the opportunity to share more about our organization. So here we go. So the NorCal WESTOP Western Association, am I sharing my screen? Hold on. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen with everybody. I have to hit share screen. Here we go. Of course, this is the part I'm always scared of. Share screen. There we go. Okay. We're working on all cylinders here. Okay, thank you. So the NorCal WESTOP chapter, it is actually an abbreviation for the Western Association of Educational Opportunity Personnel in Northern California. So pretty much from the Bay Area north, we are serving professionals who work with underrepresented students. And so the goal of our organization is to actually ensure that professionals are well trained and are able to serve a population of underrepresented students. And when we say underrepresented students, we're talking about homeless and foster students. We're talking about anything from middle school students all the way up through college students and PhD program students, rural and urban students, as well as veterans, disabled students, and pretty much any student population that's underrepresented in higher education. And so as Northern California WESTOP chapter, our goal is to actually ensure that professionals have the skills that they need to serve this wide variety and wide range of students who have need, that we see as have need to be in higher education and represented both in our higher education as well as in our professional careers and in the future. So our goal is to get students from into college, through college, and beyond college. So just to give you a little idea of who we are and who we're serving, In Northern California alone, in programs, there are 27,636 students this past year who are being served. We have 96 programs, and oftentimes those are programs that are through universities, like where I just came from, UC Davis and Cho, but can also be served through nonprofit organizations or through County Office of Ed, like the position that I'm currently now housing. So, and then we have 194 professionals who are serving those students and at those institutions. 194 people who are in the NorCal chapter, and that as president, it is my job to ensure that they are well informed and have the knowledge and the skills that they need to do their job well. And so that's who is in our program. So the goal is that we want these students to be prepared for college and professional life. Our programs, vary, like I said, in the type of students they serve, as well as the age range is very big. But the reality is we share a lot of commonalities. We provide academic assistance. We want to make sure students are academically prepared for college and for completing college, and providing that tutoring that they may need to be academically prepared. Mentoring, to be a caring adult in the lives of these individuals. We want to make sure that they are financially literate. They understand not only how to pay for college through FAFSA and in different means, different financial aid, but also that they know how to use their money wisely and to be good stewards of their money, so that when they are in college and beyond, they can do well by themselves, and hopefully having a career where they can pay for a house and be active and participants in our society, and be fiscally responsible. We want to make sure that we're building skills for the students, making sure everything from career, how to write a resume, to how to actually sit down at a professional dinner. Most of our students have never been to sat down at a business meeting luncheon and know what fork to use and how to help themselves. Those types of things are things that the students that we're serving are underrepresented students. They've never sat down at a business lunch, let alone some of them have never been out to eat at a fancy restaurant. So for our students, it's really helping to engage them and helping them learn how to survive in both college life and professional life. We also have the opportunity through a lot of our programs to take them on trips, college visits, as well as experiences. I was able to take a group of students kayaking for the first time and to learn what it's like to be outdoors and to go camping, and those types of experiences that sometimes the students that we work with don't otherwise have opportunities. So the programs that we serve, really, we're serving students. We're providing a wide variety of services that really range from really practical to big experiences for students. So the reality is that there is a huge need to serve this population. So right now, if you look at it, low-income students, so looking solely at income and not at any of the other factors, but looking at low income, 38% of low-income students go to college after high school, compared to 81% of students who come from middle and high income ranges. And then if you look at college completion, 21% of low-income students are actually completing college, whereas 45% of our middle and high income students are completing college. And so there's a big gap, there's a big divide. So our underrepresented students who are coming from these low income backgrounds, the majority of our students, all of them are coming from low income backgrounds, and they do not have the same chance and opportunities that other students from middle and high incomes have. And so NorCal, WESTOP, our goal is to ensure these high need students, high need populations, not only do they get the services they require, but they're getting that service and they're getting that information and they're getting that from highly trained professionals. And that really is the purpose of NorCal. We need trained professionals who have research-based practices to know how to assist these students so that they can be advocates for themselves. And so NorCal's purpose is to train the professionals so that they are providing the best service to these students. So if the picture that you're looking at right now is actually a group of students who are at, this last March, were at the state capitol, and they were, had the opportunity to go and actually meet with their legislators to just talk about what they're experiencing in education and experiencing, and so that they realize the goal of that day was to help students have a voice and to find their voice, and to let legislators and people know what their needs are. And so whether, no matter what area that we're working in with students, whether we're working middle school all the way through students who are trying to get underrepresented students into PhD programs, really our goal for NorCal is to ensure that our students have voices wherever they are. And so it's a very exciting and a very fun field to be in. I have devoted the last actually 12 years to working with underrepresented students, and it is definitely a passion of mine to ensure that students have the skills they need to move to the next level. And so now, in my capacity actually as the NorCal chapter president, my goal is to ensure that we are training these professionals, the 194 people that are in NorCal, and there's quite a few people that, you know, we're constantly recruiting more people to join our organization so that we can provide regional collaboration. You know, there's a lot going on in Northern California, and Northern California is varied. So you go from the Bay Area to where I am in Red Bluff. There's a wide variety of student and student needs. You know, in the Bay Area, you have different hurdles than, say, a student that I'm working with who has to drive 2 hours to get to school. So, but yet they're the same student, and they have the same needs in the sense that they are low income, they're first generation, college bound. So there's, even though we have a lot in common, and as well as we have differences. And so by creating a regional collaboration, we can do better to serve our students. We can gain ideas from one another. We can learn about our research practices. And we're able to better serve all of our students in Northern California, not just a few. Another avenue by which the NorCal chapter serves the professionals is we put on actually professional development seminar every year. This year it's actually in October 19th in Sacramento. And we're actually bringing in individuals from all over Northern California and outside to talk about how we can do our jobs better. And we're going to have workshops on assessment. How are we making sure that we're serving the students the right services, or meeting the correct, meeting what we need. We're ensuring that students are getting the best service possible so that we can get more students into college and through college. We also provide specific training. So for instance, there was just a grant writing competition that happened with our talent search grant, which is one of the federal programs that serves our underrepresented students. And there's another program, a grant coming up. And so we get together to discuss and share best practices and share ways that we can better serve students so that we can have more programs in Northern California to serve our underrepresented students. And then we also have conferences. We have regional conferences. So WESTOP is part of a region that includes Hawaii and Arizona and Nevada, and as well goes all the way out to Palau and some of the Marshall Islands. And so that our region gets together so that we can learn from one another and better share best practices, and again make sure that what we're doing is actually meeting the needs of our students. And so That is the goal of our organization, and that is how we do that. How we serve students is actually by ensuring that we have fabulous staff to serve those students. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of Northern California's WESTOP chapter and what we're doing in Northern California. Again, our goal is to serve students so that they are prepared to go to college and to graduate to be part of the professional world and hopefully join the Rotary of Silicon Valley. That's the goal, and that they're prepared to do that. So, any questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karissa, for sharing that with us. That was terrific. I'm going to start off with the first question. I'll pass it over to Andrew. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what you feel like you've learned from your experience in WESTOP. And of course, you're chapter president right now, so you must have been involved with the organization for quite some time, and you're pretty dedicated to it, so you believe in the mission. So I guess if you could remember back from when you first joined the organization to where you are now, how do you think it's developed you professionally?
Definitely, that's a great question. So I have been, I'm trying to remember back, maybe you're taking me back to when I was an advisor, and I went to this thing called PDS, or our professional development seminar was my first introduction to NorCal WESTOP. And it was there that I was like, wow, there's a whole bunch of people who are doing what I do and are passionate about students and are passionate about ensuring that that these barriers to education are broken down. And so, so it was very much for me, it was very vital to me to do an introduction to the organization through PDS, because it's there. One, I saw that there's other people who are also passionate about this work, as well as we need to, I was able to, sorry, my family just got home. So I went from that to realizing that, okay, there's all these other people who are doing this, but I want to make sure that there are people have access to good resources. And so it went from more of a time to like, hey, there's other people like me, but hey, I need to find out how are people administering tutoring services? What's the best process? And looking for, like, I live in a rural area, and so I don't have a university next door so that I can just grab some advising tutors. And so I need to ensure, so I want to talk to someone that's in, so Central California, that Fresno area, and find out what are they doing that's, they're in the agriculture area, there's, people are not close together. So what are they doing to be successful in providing academic tutoring? So it went from that resource, and then it became like, wow, I started getting involved in just wanting to be a part of an organization that was giving to me. So I started just volunteering. And then once you do that, though, I don't know if you noticed, once you start volunteering, then an organization gets wind of the fact that you're willing, and then bam, you become NorCal chapter president. And so it's just been really a journey, though, of trying to, for me, understanding and finding best practices, and then wanting to be the one that's making sure to connect people so that they can make sure that they're serving students to the best of their ability. I hope that answered your question.
No, that definitely did. That mention of how you became president sounds a lot like how Rotary happens too, so I can relate. Andrew, do you have a question for Karissa?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Karissa. So I guess if you could you speak to what kinds of trainings that NorCal does that's really transferable for skills outside of TRIO?
Mm-hmm. Well, for professionals, you mean, not necessarily for students?
Yeah.
Well, the training for, I think, professionals is definitely in being part of a nonprofit organization, learning how to be on a board, like how to deal with budgets, how to manage and work with people, and to ensure. I think part of what NorCal does is because it's so diverse, like we were talking about, we're so diverse, and people are coming from a community college, people are coming from a CSU or a University of California, or they're coming from a nonprofit organization, which all have different structures, all have different ways of doing things, as well as we're coming from a very diverse ethnic group and cultural background, as well as we're coming from rural versus urban, like we were talking about. So all of those things really helps getting professionals together in a room and recognizing, hey, we all have different needs, and we need to figure out how to collaborate and to work together because we all have the same goal and the same mission. And so NorCal has really been huge for me in helping to, as a professional, to listen and to figure out one another's strengths. That's been something that we've been working on as an organization, is allowing people to serve where their strengths are and allowing people to really shine in the areas that they are excited about and skills they like to use. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for people to grow as a professional, from small volunteer opportunities all the way up through, being essentially a board member on a 501c3. And so it really helps for people who want to be involved. It really helps people to move through that professional development, which you can use anywhere. So I sit on a couple of boards, and so I've actually had probably more board training through WESTOP than I've had through any other organization that I've been, which has been very helpful for me professionally. So that's been good.
Awesome. So the question I ask, I think, every chapter president would be, of course, how would one join your organization if they're interested? And part of that question is also, there are a lot of people in our club who work in the education industry. And of course, we have also members outside of just the San Francisco Bay Area. So maybe you could also speak a little bit about some of the other chapters that exist. And then do you know of any other organizations outside of the West Coast that do similar work? Because we do have members in Japan, in Australia, in South Africa, and in Canada. So just a little bit beyond just the San Francisco Bay Area.
Right. Well, we have the NorCal chapter, as well as in California, we actually have 3 chapters broken up into 3 chapters, just because California is so large and so diverse. So we have NorCal, and then CenCal, which is Central California. So pretty much some delineation in the Bay Area down to the Los Angeles area. And then you have SoCal, which is the Los Angeles and San Diego area. And then we have the Nevada chapter, the Arizona chapter, and then we have the Pacific Islands chapter. So Hawaii and Palau and those, and that encompasses, I'm making sure I'm not forgetting anybody. Yep, I think that encompasses everybody in the actual WESTOP region. And then as far as, there's also regions all throughout the United States, including Puerto Rico. And so you have the Rockies, the Western Rockies, and so you have the Pacific Northwest. They call themselves PNACAC. There's one thing you've got to give us in education is we're really bad at good acronyms, and so WESTOP being one of them, and PNACAC being another. So and then we have so those organizations all across the United States to the eastern. So that's, but right now, outside of the United States, we really, as an organization, we have not branched out. outside of the United States, and well, in the territories, U.S. territories, would be as far out as we've gone as an organization. But there are more organizations out there that are more international based, like the although actually I'm thinking about it right now, and almost all of them are nationally based. So I'm going to have to get back to Mitty on the outside of the United States. So I will post something and I will let you guys know about if there's anything on us. I'm sure there is in Australia and Japan and other areas. So that's my homework. And then how do you get involved? Well, to be a part of NorCal, a member, you can join. You can join our organization. You can also, by being a member, you can register through our WESTOP NorCal website, which currently is under very much needed overhaul. Because again, we're educators, and so what are we doing? We're not hanging out in making good web pages. We're actually working with students. So it is a really bad website. I have to give you that. But we're working on it. We really are. And so that is norcaltrio.org. And you can find out, there's a link there, and you can join our listserv. So you can learn, you can be part of the online community to listen to and post information and to share with one another. And that's also where we have our, like our upcoming professional development seminar. Anyone's welcome to attend that. And that information is on our website as well. And then we have a big WESTOP organization. That westop.org is where you can find information about the overarching organization, as well as the link to our WESTOP conference, which actually, interestingly enough, this year is going to be one of the first years we're having an educational summit alongside our WESTOP organization conference. And so the goal of that is just to bring people together in our region to discuss what's happening in college access. And so we're really trying to broaden and grow our outreach. And so if anyone's interested, whether you're a high school teacher or a middle school teacher or a professor at a university, or work somehow, a counselor, or work somehow with education, I will definitely also post a link to that, because that educational summit should be very informative for anyone who works with students, and whether they are in this actual field or not. So I will post that information.
Awesome, thank you. So one last question for me, and then I'll turn it over for our conclusion. But if you could maybe tell us a little bit about some of the biggest struggles or else challenges that you guys face as an organization.
I think one of the biggest challenges is the reality of our work is it doesn't pay well in education. We're mainly grant funded. A lot of our programs are grant funded, and so that usually translates into not super high pay. And so what we end up having is a lot of turnover in our organization and in our profession, because it's really a great place for individuals wanting to become teachers or wanting to go into education to step into and learn more about education from a little different perspective. But what that also so it's actually a benefit, because then we have all these wonderful people who we're training up, and we're growing in the profession, and we're kind of blessing them to go on into other forms of either education or into the public sector. But what that also does is that it's been a challenge in growing sustainability with our programs and with our local. So for me as the director now, in wanting to make sure to ensure that I have really great and consistent service at the high schools and middle schools that I serve, you know, in order to do that, you want to have staff that can stick around for a little while and create that consistency. So, so I think that's one of the big challenges that we face as an organization as well, is the constant turnover. But also, like I said, it's a blessing because that means there's more people in the world that understand how to work with underserved students, and that means they can take that with them wherever they go, whether that's in education or not. So it's a double-edged sword. Oh, your mic's not on.
Oh, that happens once in a while. Okay. Thank you so much, Karissa. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is Mitty. I'm president of the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. Our guest this week has been Karissa Morehouse, chapter president of the Northern California branch of WESTOP. Karissa was brought to us by our club member and club secretary, Andrew Ta. So I am going to turn it over to Andrew for some final comments before he turns over to you, Karissa, for the last comments before we end this recording. Andrew.
All right. Yeah, this was great, and it's just always consistently awesome in this club and in the NorCal organization to hear about the kind of service that goes on just right next door, pretty much. Well, for me, next door for me, but really all over the world as well. And yeah, this has been awesome.
Karissa, final comments.
I had to make sure I unmuted. Okay, so because I would have not done that. I just wanted to again say thank you to Rotary, and thank you Andrew, and thank you Mitty for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I didn't realize I was a little nervous because I was like, ooh, I've never done something like this, and I realized that once we got into it, it's fun to talk about what you're passionate about. It's fun to talk about serving students and to ensure that everyone, no matter where they start out, have equal access to education, which really is which helps level the playing field. So thank you guys for all of the work that you do, Rotary, to serve students all over the world, to serve people all over the world, so that we can have a more just society. So thank you very much for the work you do, and thank you again for the opportunity to speak to you. And if you need to reach me, again, I think I left my information on the last slide, so feel free to contact me if you have any questions. And I will do my homework and get back to you guys. Thanks so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Karissa. Her information will be below this video, as well as links to their chapter website. And of course, as always, please leave a comment at the bottom of this meeting and ask Karissa a question or let us know how we're doing. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care now. Bye.